Welcome. We are back live in effect on this Tuesday. How's everybody out there? This is the Eric and Linda live show, and we're coming to you live from Workvine 209. And this is Eric.
And I'm Linda. Thank you guys for coming and watching us today. We're in smoky, hot Tracy, all these wildfires, the lightning fires that started in California. It's like the air quality is horrible, but we're inside and we're going to bring on this great person today, shifting from how we operate our COVID shift, pivot, as you call. And so we're doing these live streams with dynamic people. And again, we have this great person that Eric is going to introduce.
Yes, and I'm going to introduce her. She is a friend of ours. She's an author. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a coach. She's a mentor. She has a few different businesses that she's running, and we want to just kind of hear about how she got started, where she came from, and what she's doing now, and how she could help you. So we're going to welcome our guest, Valerie Lipstein. Hey, Valerie, how are you?
Hey, hi, Eric and Linda. Thank you so much for having me. What a treat. I could relate to what you were saying, Linda. Yeah, we've gone through a lot, but we're indoors, so that's a good thing. Yeah. So. And thank you for that introduction. I thought it would be interesting just to share how I got into this, because I actually wasn't an entrepreneur all my life. You know, I wanted to be, and I thought about it, and every time I thought of something, I went, I can't do that. So I know that mindset. So I'll start with, I was a social worker. My background was, I'd been in that field for a very long time, and I started having this desire for something more. I mean, I loved helping people, and then what was happening is I found that everyone had to jump through hoops to get what the services we were providing, and it wasn't fun anymore. And I didn't feel like I was really helping them. It was just, I was a paper pusher. So I started going, oh my gosh, I want more. And I know a lot of listeners out there can understand that, like some people that are working jobs that they don't love anymore. That was my case. That was me. I thought I would be I was working for the state. I was making really good money. I actually had great benefits, and no one could really understand when I was saying, but I want more. They're like, well, why? You've got a good, and that's a mindset, right? That you've got a good job. Why would you want anything more? And yet I just felt this longing and discontent, and it got worse and worse. But guess what? My mind said, but you always have been a social worker. What else can you do? And I dabbled in these daydreams of what I could do, but I felt stuck. One of my mentors actually said, you can't get out of a prison unless you know you're in one. And I didn't realize that the prison for me was my own mindset about what else can I do. So that's where I sat, social worker in a cubicle, and just feeling stuck. Just feeling stuck. And so, sometimes you've heard about the proverbial hit you on the head kind of thing. Well, that's what happened to me. I got a call one morning from a mutual friend, and she told me that my best friend had died suddenly and unexpectedly. And mainly what you need to know about Susan, my dear friend, is she was an entrepreneur living from her passion when she died. And so for me, that was my wake-up call. So I went down to San Diego, went to the memorial, and I had no idea what I was going to do, but I just made this commitment to myself that I would figure it out. So that's where I started. And then, how things happen, how the universe opens up opportunities. Well, I didn't know anything about coaching, and I saw something online, and I came alive, and it was like, that's what I want to do. So that's how it all started. It started from a tragedy, but Susan was always with me every step of the way when I was doing it. And I stayed at my state job as I transitioned into the coaching. So I guess what I'm sharing this for with maybe some of your listeners is, number one, if I can do it, you can do it too. But the stuck thing was really in my brain, really.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's a lot of people that are in your exact same position where they're working a job and they're not living for their passion, but it makes ends meet, it pays the bills. But you have to go out and take that risk for yourself. I totally understand that you have to provide for your family. So, but you have to think it through. So don't just go and quit, but
exactly.
think it through and put a plan together, and you can become that entrepreneur that you want. And maybe you just start it while you're working, right? And you slowly transition out.
Exactly.
But I
Well,
mean,
that was 15 years ago. So now, fast forward, I've had two different businesses and, loving what I'm doing and learning more about, residual income and how you leverage that because, entrepreneurs sometimes get stuck in just creating another job for themselves. And I think I did that for a while. So,
Once you get a taste of being an entrepreneur or having your own business, once you get a taste of it, it's really hard to go back. So, would you ever go back to that cubicle lifestyle that you were living?
uh,
And why wouldn't you?
absolutely not, because you're right. Once it's in your blood, and like I said, I think for a very long time, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted time, money, freedom. There's so many things that you hear people saying, when they make that choice. And no, I wouldn't go back because so much has happened and my life is so different now. And I love what I'm doing now. It's totally different. But no, I couldn't go back to a cubicle again. Yeah. And
So it's like that. Would you ever become wealthy working in a cubicle? And I think that now you have an opportunity to become wealthy in your new venture in the new business that you're in right now. So, you want to talk a little bit about how you could become wealthy in what you're doing?
absolutely. Like I mentioned, I think entrepreneurs sometimes create another job for themselves. So for me, I also have an internet marketing business that gives me leveraged income. You mentioned that I'm also an author. And so the idea of the leveraged residual income is I do get some royalties from the book. Not a lot, but I do. So think about that concept. But more than enough coming in on a regular basis. You do the work up front, like you write the book, you do the work up front, and you put the time in, and then years down the road, the money keeps coming in. And so, that's what my focus is now. I love coaching, I love helping others reach their full potential. And I completely understand the leveraged income idea because it's a whole team of people working together. And often entrepreneurs, you know, make the mistake, I certainly did, of thinking I could do it alone. You really can't do it alone. That's so critical. Like one of the successful traits of an entrepreneur is someone that's able to ask for help, get mentored, and build a team that works so that they're not the only person. Because I know you guys know this too. If you're not there, who's doing it? And that's an important distinction, right? With when you've got a team or you've got other people, you could back out if you needed to, and they'd still be there. So that's kind of my focus now. It's really building a team. One of the businesses is a health and wellness business, focusing on supplementation. And the other is my coaching business. And I love both of them. Yet I realized with my coaching business, I had to figure out extra residual type income, if I wasn't going to write the bestseller book, right? Or something that's going to give me that huge amount of income coming in on a regular basis. Did that kind of answer your question? I know there's so much to this topic, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yes. You know, and the thing about all of your businesses, it's not a get rich overnight type of thing. It's, you do have to work hard at it. Any entrepreneur, any startup, it's not going to grow rich overnight. You have to put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into your business to reap the benefits of it once you put it all in. But it takes work every day. It's not something that, is easy to do. So the one thing I think you need to have is commitment and a passion and a drive to, sustain you when you come across those days that feel like, oh my gosh, it's, can I make it? Or, those hard days. So
Exactly.
what do you do? What do you do when you're starting to build your business, and how do you overcome those days, and what keeps you going, and what motivates you to? I know it's a lot. It's a impactful,
Yeah.
like
Really,
the
Linda, come
impactful
on.
questions, but what do
No,
you do?
those are really great questions. What do you do? First of all, realizing that like one of the traits of a successful entrepreneur is just what you mentioned. It's perseverance. You've heard that saying that, showing up is 80% of the game, quote unquote. I think it's higher than that. It's like showing up, commitment, self-discipline, perseverance, because there's going to be the up and down times. When I first started my coaching business, I did a lot of masterminds around the classic book by Napoleon Hill, which you've probably heard of, Think and Grow Rich. And there's a whole chapter in that book on perseverance and the fact that you're probably going to get knocked down a few times. So it's like, how do you stay in the game? For me, a lot of it is around the people I hang out with, the people that motivate me, because I'm a firm believer in having mentors and other people that are where you want to be. They're going to be a few steps ahead of you, maybe more than a few steps, but they'll be a few steps ahead of you. And you work with them. I've got a number of mentors. Even though I'm a coach, I need a mentor too. We all need mentors. So it's who you hang out with. It's getting the help when that was one of my very first mistakes, I think, and I learned a lot from it when I first started my business, way back when, 12 years ago. I thought I could do it alone. I'm a really independent person. I have a lot of energy. I'm, that kind of person. And so I thought I could do it. But being an entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur, and you guys don't have that situation so much, but being a solo entrepreneur can be really lonely, and you have to have those connections and those people that can help you during the hard times.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to talk about this. This is your book, Couples in Business, right? We're a couple, and we know firsthand what it's like. Can you share a little bit about that book and why you wrote it?
Absolutely. So a number of years ago, my husband and I were working together. If you read the book, there's a chapter in there called the hot tub conversations. We had these conversations and we started talking about, my husband's a marriage family therapist. I was a coach. I have the social work background. And we were thinking, what could we do together to really help couples? And it made a lot of sense to work with couples. There's a lot of couples in, network marketing, couples like yourself that are in, have a brick and mortar type business that maybe didn't even realize what the challenge could be. And so my husband was already doing his own thing. He was self-employed, doing his own thing, and I was doing my thing. And we combined what we were doing because we loved doing workshops. We loved working with couples. And so we started that. And in the process, we realized we were running up against some things. And so our book is about the 7 steps that we realized too to be more successful working together, successful business, successful relationship. There's a lot in that book that talks about relationships and how you communicate or how you don't. Besides, so we did 7 steps. And so one of the steps, the very first step really is kind of goes to the mindset. It's like doing your inner work, knowing yourself very well, knowing what your strengths, where your challenges are. Because, we've worked with couples where they were so much the same that they needed more help. They needed the help of something else, some other outside organization or some support. And so knowing yourself well, knowing where you're going to run into conflict is important. And of course, your why and your vision. And so in the book, we talk a lot about you need to know why you're doing it. And so for us, it was we saw the benefit. We wanted to be together more too, quite frankly. I mean, we were self-employed, doing our own thing. We were gone, always during the day, just like a job, right? And
Yeah.
so that was part of our why. We wanted to spend more time together. So we worked together about a little over 3 years, and wrote the book in that process too. And then realized some things about where it was challenging for us, and thought it would help other couples too, because not everybody's meant to work together. In our case, we still do some things together, but we're not together like the two of you are, for example, on a regular basis anymore.
Yeah.
Yet the book was, our contribution to couples that work together.
Wow. I can definitely say that working together as a couple is really great. I mean, I wouldn't have never known. I mean, we've always worked together, in our business, but we also had jobs. But now we're together every single day. And I love it, I love it.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. One of the things that we talk about too, that I don't know if you guys have run up against, but my husband, Michael, and I did, definitely. It was around what we call flexible boundaries in the book, which some people might say work-life balance, but we kind of think that's sort of a myth, because what happens in a business and also at home, it's like whatever is right in front and center is what you deal with. So if the business needs help, that's where you're going to go. So you may not have that quote unquote work-life balance during that. But we found the flexible boundaries and the concept of when does work stop? When does our personal life start? Quite challenging, to tell you the truth. I don't know if that's true for you as well, but that was something we had to work through. And we give some really great examples of how you can do that in the book, because it's not just you as a couple keeping together and doing things together separate from work. It's also as individuals, because, first and foremost, we're still, whether we're a couple or not, we're individuals that have, needs and desires, and they're not always the same.
Yeah. I find us working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
No.
But we do have downtime. But
We do.
I think, our passion, both have this same passion and drive that really excites us about what we do and how we can add value to other people's lives. And so it doesn't even seem like work for us. I mean, even though, we may be on a fishing bank, we may be out having dinner, we're still talking business sometimes, but it's exciting, I think, for us. And so it doesn't seem like work, but it is. I guess.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. It's just that sometimes, like in terms of even your brain and your health, it's important to be able to turn it off and think something different. But we would have that problem too. Like my husband would want to talk about one topic, and then I was like, I'd think of something about work, because I'd have these ideas, and I'm one that is okay taking risk and coming up with new ideas. And he liked things more, let's have the system in place, and so I'd have these ideas and would be at dinner, would be doing something, that was not work related, and it would come up. It's hard not to have that come up. Definitely. Yeah. It takes some practice. And I found that our relationship was healthier when we did take those breaks, that was important. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We take our individual breaks too. Like sometimes Eric will go to the fishing bank without me, and or I'll go shopping without him,
Yeah.
and then it gives us a little bit of a break, and then we come back together and we kind of talk about it. But our kids will tell you that we literally will get in two separate. We come to work in two separate cars, and then we leave in two separate cars. But what's so funny is that he'll call me in his car, and we'll talk all the way home. And the kids just they crack up. They're like, are you guys ever apart? And so we are around each other a lot too.
Yeah. Well, no, it sounds like you two have made it work. There are couples, and we worked with a few of them that what would happen is one person started the business first. This isn't your situation, but it was my husband's and mine, the business first. And then they needed some more help. And the partner, in one case, this couple, she was downsized from her banking career completely, and so he needed help at the office, and so she stepped in, kind of doing administrative things. And the short of that was it didn't work so well for them because she didn't love what she was doing. So, when you talk about really having passion for what you're doing and feeling like you want to help people in WorkFind, in your WorkFind 209, which is all about entrepreneurship, it makes sense. But like some people get caught in that trap of, they think they're just going to be in for a short while, and then that short while goes on, year after year. And for this couple, it wasn't a good fit. And so we worked with them to really help them identify what their personal vision for the business was. And they were going in totally different directions. The husband wanted to sell the business. He wanted to completely sell it and go off and do consulting. It was a website design business. And she wanted to keep it a little longer, but she wanted to get phased out because she was sort of interested in real estate investing. The short of that was, and it was causing a lot of conflict in their relationship. So, when we came in and worked with them, it was really helping them identify where the stressors were. They sort of knew, but they didn't really know what to do about it. So we did come up with a plan for them, and they were able to implement it. And they ended up selling the business and kind of going in different directions, but having a umbrella business where she was doing her real estate stuff, he was doing consulting, and under one name, but kind of doing it separate. So, for everybody, it's so different, but it is important to, I think you probably would admit too, and I've had a few people tell me this, that if the relationship is, endangered, you sometimes have to decide, maybe the relationship's more important than staying together in the business, and maybe bringing another partner in. There's so many different variables, but I'm happy that it's working for the two of you. That's awesome.
That's good.
Really.
That's good.
And what you said there is, I think, communication. Like they had to communicate that, and then revisiting, like doing our check-ins. So that's what Eric and I do all the time. Like, okay, is this working for us? And we have to like keep on top of, the reason, the vision, the why did we start this business together, and are we on the same page? And where do you see it? And, where do I see it? And so like that couple, it was that communication. We had to, you have to communicate where you see the vision. Cause like you said, we're individuals too. And so he may think, oh, I think we should go left. And I'm thinking we should go right. And if we don't, communicate that, we'll be, he's there this way and I'm that way. So,
there's a whole chapter in our
like
book on communication. Communication is huge, Linda. You're absolutely right. It's like, and sometimes people think they're communicating and they're actually not necessarily communicating. They're actually just rehashing over and over and over. And, luckily for us, because my husband is a marriage family therapist and he's worked with couples on, interpersonal things, he could help on that because that's not necessarily my expertise, although I understand about effective communication, but sometimes with couples, there's long-standing things that can get in the way that have already been going on for a while, and then you're in a business together. It may not be business related, right? So yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's when people can do it and be effective, it's a wonderful way to share. You're sharing like if your kids are grown, it's kind of like you have another baby.
Yes.
And you're sharing that baby and you're doing things together, and that's very beautiful. It's a great
we also need people like you guys too, like to help couples. Like, so even like raising a child, we go to the doctors when something isn't going right, or when, we want to make sure that their regular checkups and all this stuff. So we seek a doctor for our newborn child. Same thing with our business. We seek other people like, a coach or, a mentor or, a therapist in your case. But it's very important to have those levels of people helping you with your business. It's not just, we're not on an island by ourselves. We tap into people and we tap into you. I remember meeting you for the first time. You came in that, this is the entrepreneur that you are. You were like, I need to get network with other people that are like-minded. So being there, this is before COVID, of course, and
Right.
meeting other people. And you had just came from Florida, so you were returning. You started off in California, moved to Florida, and then came back, and it's like starting over. And so, I want to talk a little bit about that because it's an interesting story. It was interesting to me.
Sure. You're absolutely right. I mean, it is like you mentioned COVID, though, and I will say that because of COVID, our business has changed, and not just the coaching business, but the health and wellness consulting, that business. All this can be done online now. So it is very, I found that my business has actually grown since COVID, which is crazy. I'd love to have more contact with people without masks, right? However, you're right. When we moved from Florida, we had gone down to Florida mainly to help my parents. I mean, it wasn't a long-term, we were there 4 years. It wasn't a long-term idea, but we did start it. That's when we were doing this business together. That's when the book was written. So there was a lot done in those 4 years. And yet coming back, you realize, and we didn't come back to the exact same area. We were more in the North Bay area when we had left. But yeah, you really have to get connected. And that to me is a huge thing. And going back to this concept, my husband wasn't the best. He didn't love, let's put it that way. I'll change it a little bit. He didn't love to network. He's a clinician. He liked to just meet with people one-on-one, and that's where his passion is. So we really had to realize that the networking is huge, right? I mean, to be successful, you have to be out there, you have to be talking to people and connecting with them and, listening to their story. So it's really about that. And I know that you guys do that so well at WorkLife 209, helping entrepreneurs. Where are they starting from? What do they need? And so, yes, we came back. That was important to get connected. And I was so grateful to meet you and know that there was a place for entrepreneurs. That was awesome. Because you can have your vision, but if you can't communicate it with people, that's a whole different thing, right? For your business.
Absolutely.
So I know, I just want to ask this question. This is for entrepreneurs out there. And I know we talked about this. Can you give us some feedback on some of the traits that entrepreneurs need to sustain or to even get started?
Sure. We did talk about knowing your why. Why are you doing it? And coming from that passion, because without that, as Linda had mentioned earlier, and as we know, you can lose if you don't have a strong enough why. Then in the hard times, often, you know the statistics. A lot of entrepreneurs, the majority of entrepreneurs do not succeed past 5 years in a business. So the why and being, really clear about that and being able to be very clear about your vision. Where are you going? And when do you want to get there? And, so we have people get very clear on their goals and their vision. And even in that book I mentioned, Napoleon Hill, that was a huge part too of reading your vision, in the morning, before you go to sleep. There's a whole subconscious mind thing. I could talk about that too, but we're not going to talk about that now. Yet it's very important to keep that front and center, because there'll be those tough times. And I mentioned perseverance. That's huge. That's another really powerful trait. Successful entrepreneurs have to persevere. And then, of course, I like this one, even though a lot of people will think it sounds weird. It's being willing to fail. Being willing to fail. Because you think about all the successful, highly successful entrepreneurs out there, they failed. And they sometimes failed really big before they stumbled on what it was that they were meant to do, or maybe they tweaked their original idea. However, you've got to be willing to do that, because a lot of people don't make it, and so being okay with feedback and realizing, I look at failure as kind of feedback. It's like sometimes it'll say, not this way, maybe there's another way. especially when your vision is important and you believe in it, but you're not getting traction. Something's not happening.
Yeah.
You're getting feedback. Not this way. What else can I do? Instead of giving up, which people will do sometimes, instead of giving up, it's like, what do you need? What help do you need? That's when you would seek mentors. You'd seek, places like WorkLife. What am I missing? What is not working here? And really focusing on that. And then self-discipline. I had to look down because I knew there was another one that's super important. You're your own boss, right? So if you don't show up and you don't do the work, things aren't going to get done. And so if you're not a self-disciplined person, it's going to be a little difficult, or you're going to have to figure out how to gain that trait, gain that skill, so to speak. But what I've learned is, I block out time. And this is my time. So my door is closed. This is business. This is a business. It's not, okay, so maybe I'm working from home now because of COVID. I'll take my breaks. But when I'm on and I'm working with a client, or I'm writing an article or doing an interview like this, you have to be focused, and you have to, really be disciplined about your time. So those are some ideas, and there's always, we all can grow. We all are improving. And so just know that, sometimes it's a work in progress too.
Definitely. Definitely a work in progress. So it is our half an hour mark. Is there anything you want to leave with the listeners out there? Any takeaway from our interview today that you want to give the listeners today to take home and think about, or call to action?
I would say, if you're wondering, what it is that, if you know that you want to do something entrepreneurial and you're not sure what, speak with a coach, speak with someone that can help you kind of, find out what your skills are, some of the things that you love to do. Sometimes they're hobbies. So that would be for someone considering entrepreneurial. Someone that's already an entrepreneur and is maybe challenged right now, maybe it's because of COVID. I just say persevere, because honestly, if you've got a good idea and you keep at it and you get the help you need, you will be successful. You really will be. So.
Wow, that's really good.
I put up your email so that, if people want to get in touch with you, email Valerie at couplesandbusiness.com, or visit her website, and help and ask for the help that you need. And, she could set something up for you, or at least do a consultation with you to help you work out your thoughts on being an entrepreneur or starting your business. So definitely get in contact with her. She's been a great help with us. She's helped us do some of our marketing, and even, we've actually consulted in her, and, and asked her a few questions on what we need to do. And it was very helpful. So reach out, definitely.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And likewise, you're doing a great service for all the entrepreneurs in this community. So yeah, keep it up, you two.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Valerie, for the insight. For those who have missed the show, the chat is her email and her contact information will be in the chat. So you'll be able to contact her, reach out. If you have any questions on entrepreneurs looking to get started and you're looking for a coach, reach out to Valerie. She can help you if you're a couple, or even if you're an individual. So I just want to thank you, Valerie, for being a part of our show today. Eric and Linda live every Tuesday and Thursdays at 2:00. We welcome you to come on back on Thursdays. And also, tomorrow we have Pivoting Through COVID. We have someone coming in tomorrow. Go to our meetup page. We're going to be talking about entrepreneur mindset. So it's a great opportunity to learn more about entrepreneur mindset. It's an hour and a half. Go to meetup at meetup.com, Workvine Entrepreneurship. All right. Thank you, everybody, for viewing us. And you guys all have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie.
See you later.